Welcome, 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 Kitchen Sink family members. How are you? How are we? Thank you so much. If you've been here before, thank you for coming. If you are new, you are most welcome. Here we discuss everyday life issues and we give each other, a little bit of advice here and there, but we really are focusing on discussing issues sometimes that people are comfortable talking about, on the kitchen sink or in places that may not be recognized, and yet they'll be discussing pertinent life issues. That's what we do here. We pick those things from the kitchen sink and we have brought them here on this platform for us to address those issues and share ideas and opinions regarding those issues. And today we want to discuss a matter that in psychology can stand alone, as a subject matter. They refer to it as paradigm shift. And I think it's important for us to discuss it because it affects every generation, it affects every location. You just have to be somebody who's adjustable and adaptable. Basically, that's what entails a paradigm shift. That's mentally. You have to be in a mental space where you can adjust, you can adapt, and it works well, particularly when you are changing seasons of life, when you are changing locations, when change has happened around you. What is paradigm shift in simple terms? A paradigm shift is a major change in how people think and get things done that upends and replaces a prior paradigm. So it's like, life could have been happening, going in a certain direction. Due to whatever has happened on that pathway of life, you stop, you begin to evaluate how life has been, and you intentionally go on a pathway to change your mind. Did I read scripture yet? No. Let me do that. In Romans chapter 12, verse 2, it says, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." Religion is encouraging, at least Christianity is encouraging us to be transformed. Don't hold on to a way of thinking from the time you understood life to the time you leave this world. In the course of life, you have to allow yourself to be transformed, to be renewed, because that's just how life is. And in Shona, it says in Romans chapter 12, Roma chapter 12, ndima yechipiri, musaenzaniswa nenyika ino, asi mushandure murangariro wenyu uchavandudzwa kuti muidze muzive kuda kwaMwari kwakanaka, kunofadza, kwakanaka. You have to allow yourself, to change, with time. Only change is what does not change. Otherwise, all of us around, we change. That's why they say change is ubiquitous. It's happening all the time. And we know only God also says He is immutable. He does not change. Otherwise, living organisms change. This is how we grow. This is how we develop. It is enabled by the process of mutation. You change, you grow, you develop, and it's with us. In our minds also, we have to adopt a position where you allow yourself to change and to develop. I look at our circumstances where we are. There's so many things that are happening all the time. There's so much change. In Zimbabwe, you can go to sleep, using US dollars as the currency, and you wake up the next morning, there's a new currency that you're using. That's our region. If you struggle with change, you will hold on the experiences of yesteryear, and you will want for that to determine your present day life. It doesn't work. You have to check yourself. How adaptable are you? How possible is it for you to adjust how I used to see life and what life is today? Is it working if I use principles from yesteryear? Or must I completely change the way I look at life? Do a mental overhaul so that you look at life in the way that is consistent with the environment that you are in. I mean, you cannot relocate to the diaspora and want to live life in the diaspora as you lived it in Zimbabwe. You will meet with regulations, with laws that you will be breaking left, right, and center. Simple way of behavior, like the use of a vehicle, what do you call it, the horn. When you honk the horn like we do here in Africa, it's like it's acceptable. Elsewhere, it's not acceptable. If you honk the horn, someone is disturbed, they can sue you. So it becomes very important for you to be able to change your way of thinking, your way of looking at life, your way of behavior. All that hinges on your mind. How adjustable are you? Even for you to go forward in development, if you look at life as it is today, they call it status quo. And you predetermine your future based on today's status quo, you will not develop. You will not progress. You have to be willing to challenge your mind. You have to be willing to take other people's challenge so that you become the better version of yourself in any given situation. Is it easy? As I'm saying it, it may not be easy. I know that there are personalities for which change is much easier, and there are other personalities who really struggle with change. But change is ubiquitous. Change is happening all the time. You have to be willing to find ways and means of changing so that life is consistent with where you are at that particular moment. You cannot live life the way you lived it as a single, as a bachelor, as a spinster, and now you are married. There are things that have to change. You cannot live life like you are still a 16-year-old when you are a 40-year-old. There are things that have to change. And this is what we are talking about today, that, guys, let's embrace this subject matter of paradigm shift. Let's embrace what religion calls transformation of your mind by the renewing of that mind. Let us embrace that. It works for our good, so that you don't remain in the same space, you don't remain in the same place in life. You progress as life progresses. If once upon a time you never used to, consider change as a serious matter, it is important for us to do so. Even the weather patterns are changing. Who are you to remain in the same spot? So it's very important, guys. You can't fail to adjust. You can't fail to adapt. You can't fail to change your way of looking at life, your way of looking at things, your way of behavior. You have to change so that who you are is consistent with where you are, as in the station of life and as in the environment around you. Taking into consideration your age, your possibilities around you, the list goes on. So as you are growing, as I am growing, let us be willing to change. Let us be willing to be transformed. Let us be people that can adjust. Let us be people that can adapt. It is very, very important. If you struggle with it, train yourself on your own. First and foremost, acknowledge change is ubiquitous. Change is continuous. Change is here with us. Then ask yourself, how was I looking at life before? What has changed in my mind regarding how I look at life? And if you feel the constraints of yesteryear in your mind, it becomes your prerogative to challenge yourself to begin to change. If you could sleep for 13 hours a day, and today the demands on your life are such that you reduce the number of hours you sleep, then start from there. Make sure you reduce those hours so that you can apply yourself to where you are in life. If you could sleep only 2 hours a day and manage throughout the day once upon a time, as you grow older, things will change. 2 hours will not be sufficient. You have to increase the hours that you take to rest. Guys, change is ubiquitous. Change is continuous, and we have to match that with a paradigm shift so that life becomes consistent with where we are and what we do in our lives. Please give me questions on this one. I would like to do a follow-up Q&A. I think it's a very important subject matter, particularly when people are transitioning, say, from being single into marriage, from within marriage to being parents. From people, we need paradigm shift. So I'm looking forward to a part 2 on this matter, which will be a Q&A. Ask me questions and we will respond accordingly. But thank you so much for coming on board. Please continue to comment, to subscribe, to share, to like, and switch on the notification button. Comment, 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 and like that little hand on the video. Please just press it and share. Thank you so much for your support. Truly, truly appreciate. See, we are family now. See you next time.